Okay, so I'm here with Matteo, inventor of the Orange Pill app. It's a brand new app. You guys have just crossed 1 month being live now, right?
Yes, sir. Today, exactly today, 1 month ago, we launched at Pacific Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So today is the first month of this adventure.
Awesome. And it seems like you're getting a lot of traction for only being live for a month. So I was thinking maybe to start, we could just talk about maybe your journey into Bitcoin and how that led you to making this app.
Yeah, sure. So I have probably a fairly typical journey in Bitcoin. So my first foray was in 2012. A friend of mine told me, "Hey, there's this thing called Bitcoin. I think it was about $5." And I told the guy it's a scam. Didn't look into anything, although I don't think there was anything to look into because there was no books or no podcast. So I told him it was a scam when it was $5. Then the year after, I was dating this girl from America, and she told me about Bitcoin, and I told her to not buy. So I actively encouraged her not to buy Bitcoin at, I think the price was 120. Then bear market, which obviously I didn't know about it, but nobody told me. So no, I haven't heard about Bitcoin since 2012 until 2015, 16. Obviously now I know why. It's because it was a bear market and Mangots and all that kind of stuff. So then I joined Twitter in 2015, and I still didn't know anything about Bitcoin, but I follow one guy on Twitter that he was a conspiracy theorist in chief. So he was in all kind of conspiracy theory. I don't know why I follow him, but that's beside the point. But he was tweeting about Bitcoin every day, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. So one day I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy some Bitcoin. So download Coinbase. We got $10 of Bitcoin and $10 of Ethereum. So I was a shit coiner from the start, I guess. Then forgot about it completely until summer of 2016, maybe 2017, when the famous Naval thread that he wrote one night, Naval Ravikant from AngelList, which I knew because of my past in technology companies. I knew about Naval. So at this point, I still think Bitcoin is a scam, right? I'm still in like Bitcoin is a scam, But then I read this thread of Naval, and because I knew Naval from outside, I was like, wow, why is this guy talking about Bitcoin if Bitcoin is a scam? That makes no sense, right? So in my head, I'm starting having doubts. So the next morning, I said, okay, I need to find out what's going on here. So I download Coinbase, which I have deleted. I forgot the password, get the password, open Coinbase, and the $20 that I bought the year before, now it's $160. I'm like, this is definitely a scam. Nothing goes up 900% or 800% in 1 year. Keep in mind, I have a degree in economics and I've been investing since I was 19. So, I had some knowledge about investing and that kind of stuff. So I'm like, I was right. It's a scam, but Naval was in the back of my mind, So that was my inception. So I bought a little bit more. I don't know, maybe I bought 1 Bitcoin. Then 2017, bull run, 20,000. Great. I didn't sell any, as far as I remember. But then in 2018, I had the brilliant idea of buying all the shitcoins. So at the beginning of the bear market in 2018, literally January 2018, my brain tells me, okay, Bitcoin is all technology. There's all these shit coins, because I was on Coinbase. That's the problem, right? I was on Coinbase, and Coinbase was pushing the shit coins every day. This shit coin went up 300% in 1 day, blah, blah. So I figured that I should buy all the shit coins pretty much. The top 100 that went down 10% the day before, I would buy the next day. Now you can imagine, because it's the beginning of the bear market, 2 months later, I end up owning maybe 50 shitcoins. You name it, I had it. Dash, Cardano, Dogecoin. Like this is 2018, so there was no Solana, no Avax, but so I bought all the shitcoin, and then the bear market, like things keep going down and down and down. So at some point, I realized so maybe I should stop doing this. So I completely closed Binance, forgot about it. And then summer of 2018, I bought the Bitcoin standard from Seferdin because he's an economist and I have a degree in economics. So I thought, okay, maybe he knows something that I don't know, right? So I read that book, and that book kind of like opened my eyes. So the Bitcoin standard was my entrance to the Bitcoin rabbit hole. That's my ticket to the rabbit hole. So I did that, and then at that point, I was literally telling people to buy Bitcoin all the time. Bitcoin was 3,000, 4,000. It was pretty good. And then the next chapter, I guess it was when Michael Saylor shows up, summer of 2020. Actually, I know exactly the date, August 12, 2020, because from that day, I went completely all in on Bitcoin. I was maybe 90% before Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor shows up, and I'm like, if this guy is all in, I'm gonna be all in. And so, at that point, I was selling the house, and I put the money, and I was asking my friends to buy Bitcoin for me because all the limits, right? 10,000 a day, blah blah. So yeah, so summer 2020, I went all in completely, like literally, like every dollar that I had in my name was in Bitcoin. And then so I guess that's when I became a Bitcoin maxi, if you like. And then, so how do I get into Orange Peel? I mean, how do I get to idea of Orange Peel? Is because April 2022, I was driving down Santa Monica, which is where I used to live in Los Angeles, and I'm like, where are all the Bitcoiners in here? Where are all the plebs at, right? Like the Santa Monica, I remember, it's 400,000 people live in Santa Monica. There's gotta be some Bitcoiners around here. But how am I gonna find them? Because most people don't go to Meetup, right? And so so that was the inception of the idea. Then maybe 1 month later, a friend of mine calls me and tell me, I need to talk to you. Let's meet for coffee. I say, sure, why not? So I met the guy, and he tells me that he's starting a dating app for active people. So my brain goes like, oh, I see. So the dating industry is fragmentizing. It's going to be all these verticals. They're going to be smaller and smaller and smaller. And so in the back of my brain, I go, here we go, a Bitcoin dating app for Bitcoiners, which was literally the first idea was, people make fun of Orange Peel app now, but the first idea was a dating app for Bitcoiners, which obviously was not a good idea. But at least I had the solution to how to find people nearby using geolocation with an app. Like this problem has been solved by dating apps, right? And then obviously I realized, okay, the dating app is not gonna work because there's no women. I mean, there are some, but there's very few.
It's a little skewed there.
Yeah, it's like the problem of supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
And so naturally I realized, okay, this could be way bigger than just a dating app. This could be the social layer of Bitcoin in real life. So we can use the same technology and the same principles of dating apps, but for everything else, dating, friendship, networking. And so that was the original. So that's when end of April, May 2022, that's when I had the full vision of Orange Peel app. Okay, it's a tool for Bitcoiners to meet each other in real life, whether they want to go on a date or friendship or networking. It's beside the point, right? How do we get Bitcoiners together locally? So that was. And then from there, obviously, there's plenty. From there, there's plenty of directions that plenty of tangents that the app can go, events, merchants, the Bitcoin circular economy, which is, I believe that we're gonna be a catalyst for the Bitcoin circular economy. But that's the story.
Awesome. Wow. It's a crazy story about how you got first, heard about it in 2012 or whatever, and then it was, 7, 8 years
Took
later.
me a while.
Yeah. I've heard similar stories though. Can I ask, so what were you doing? You said you had a background in economics. What was your kind of career before launching this app?
Sure. So I've been, I'm 38 years old, and I've been employed for 2 years in the entirety of my life. Which means I've been entrepreneur since I was 19. I had many companies, many side projects, many startups. That's my background. My background is consumer-facing tech companies.
Okay.
So I had my first business was online clothing retail that I was doing at 19. I was shipping clothes from Indonesia to Italy and then sell them on eBay. Great business. Made quite a lot of money. Then I moved to London. I fell in love with London, moved to London. I wanted to be a DJ. Then I wanted to be a pianist. So I wanted to be a musician for many years, but it was not in my destiny. Let's put it that way. And so then I opened a shipping company in Italy, which became the biggest shipping online company in the whole country that I sold in 2012. Then I opened Uber before Uber in Milan, in Italy, which didn't work because I didn't even know you could find bad developers, because my first 2 companies were successful, extremely successful. They didn't really have much problems with the development side, the technological side. So in my mind, I'm like 26 years old. I think I'm a genius, obviously, right? And then I don't even know what I don't know. I don't know that the majority of developers are actually bad. So I hired the wrong developers. I launched this Uber, pretty much Uber in Italy. Had a lot of press, media attention, and then the app didn't work. It was a complete, well, not complete, but that was my first failure in life. And
when was this again?
2013.
Okay, so yeah, that was a good bit before. I can't exactly remember when Uber started going mainstream, but much later, right?
Well, Uber existed in the United States, but I never heard of it. But in London, I was using an app that pretty much same idea. It's called Halo, HALO, which was the first taxi app, I think, globally. It was even before Uber. I think it was 2008, right when the iPhone came out. Right, so I live in London. I'm using this app. I sold my shipping company. I have a little bit of money. I'm like, what am I doing next? Right? Moved back to Italy, launched this taxi app, which I did everything right. I got the right people on board. I got media, the taxi drivers. I got everything right except the product. Product was terrible because I just trusted the developers that they knew what they were doing, right? And as you probably know, like, failure is a bigger teacher than success. You learn way more from failure than from succeeding. In fact, succeeding might be a wrong teacher altogether, which was my case. So the typical journey of an entrepreneur is like, you fail, you learn, you fail, you learn, and then you make it. I started from, I made it, then I made it again, and then I thought I was invincible, which is why I failed.
Dangerous mindset.
And
yeah.
so, yeah, I had an upside. Like, my journey was a little bit different from most entrepreneurs. So anyway, so then from there I moved to New York, and I had an indoor delivering app, and I ended up working with the biggest theater company on Broadway, Schubert. which was great. And the technology worked, everything worked, but the consumer didn't really like the product, which happens. So I sold the technology to Schubert, and then from 2016 until Orange Peel Up. So from 2016 until 2022, I took a break from business. Well, that's not true, but I took a break from being a founder. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
And that's my 2 years of being unemployed, right? That's happened in 2016. I moved to LA, and that's pretty much the story. That's my career, let's say.
Awesome. So very well seasoned with startups and creating companies, and wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's not always how do you say? It's good to have experience, but it's also a lot of there's a lot of pain, and and because obviously failure is not nice.
yeah.
And so it's good to have both experience, but so I definitely have a lot of experience, you can say that.
So when did the Orange Pill app, when did you start really giving your all to it?
Actually, I remember the day I met my friend. I left the meeting with my friend, and I look at the sky, because you can imagine that having the background that I have, once I went all in on Bitcoin, I wanted to do something in Bitcoin, right? Because I'm the kind of guy that should do a Bitcoin company, and I couldn't find anything to do. I can't do exchanges, I don't want to do clothing in Bitcoin or I don't know, right? So I couldn't. For 2 years, I had this desire to build the Bitcoin company, yet I had no spark, nothing to latch on. So the day I met my friend and I had this Bitcoin dating app idea, that was like, I remember I was like, I had a very unique emotion. It was like a light bulb moment. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. It's like you had 2 years of like wanting something and you couldn't find, and then one day you found it. And it was very, very refreshing, right? But yeah, so pretty much from that day, I wasn't all in, because obviously, you gotta flesh out the idea. Obviously, you can't just launch it. But maybe a month later, once I found out that, it's not a dating app, it's not a datingapp.com as well. So from May 2022, I was all in, working like, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, pretty much since then.
Awesome. So how does Orange Pill app compare to your previous companies? Are you most excited about this one? Like, you think this is going to be your,
Oh yeah,
your
well, from a business standpoint, you could say that, this, forget about Bitcoin, right? Forget about Bitcoin for a second. If you look just as a business, it's very exciting, because obviously humans are social animals. So we want to be connected, right? We want to be connected no matter what, whether it's football or sports or religion or this is the desire of humans. So to build an app that facilitate that desire, which probably is the biggest desire that we have, that itself is a huge business, right? Now, add on top, there is in Bitcoin, and I'm a Bitcoin maxi, all in. So absolutely, that's the most exciting. I believe this is going to be the privilege of my life, to have built this up and hopefully play the part in the hyper Bitcoinization of the world.
Awesome. I'm really excited about it. I know as soon as I saw it on Twitter, just like instantly downloaded it, because as a Bitcoin maxi myself, you love talking about Bitcoin. You love talking with other people that understand Bitcoin, and right now it's kind of hard to, there's not too many Bitcoiners out there, especially depending on
Yeah,
where you
right.
live. And so, I mean, for the past, couple of years, people, I try to talk about Bitcoin all the time, but people don't have the same, non-Bitcoiners don't have they're not as interested in it as you. So whenever you actually do meet somebody that's a Bitcoiner, you can just like talk all day. And so I've been trying to kind of find a lot of more Bitcoiners in my community over the past few months, really. And yeah, so found the app, and it's it's only been launched for about a month now. So I know it's a lot more within my radius. There's not too many right now, but I know that it's growing like fire, it seems like, and I'm sure there will be many more coming on aboard the app soon. And I can't wait to just be able to go on there and see, a Bitcoiner that lives 10 minutes from my house, and we can meet for lunch or meet for coffee or just have a
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, no, that's the magic, right? That's the magic.
Yeah.
So I met Silver at the Bitcoin Pacific conference. Yeah, and he has this phrase, Bitcoin dematerializes money.
Mhm.
Probably heard that, right? So I told him the orange pill app materializes Bitcoiners.
Wow.
Right? So that's an easy way to understand it. So imagine wherever you live, there's got to be Bitcoiners near you, unless you live in the jungle or in Iceland. But of course, you don't know. You can't find. They don't have Bitcoin on their forehead.
Yeah.
So in a way, this is the goal of the app. Is like to find out that your neighbor is a Bitcoiner. Is magical.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know otherwise, because maybe he's even on Twitter. Maybe you're even friends on Twitter, but you don't know. Oh, you're 20 miles from me. Like, it's impossible, right? So that's the magic, right? So that's the magic of connecting with people like you in real life. It's the best thing ever, right? Especially as Bitcoiners, because we're kind of like rebels, anti the system, which looks like it's falling down. But we have seen, if you're not a Bitcoiner, you're seen kind of like a crazy guy.
Yeah.
Especially when Bitcoin goes from 69 to 17. You're definitely a crazy guy, right? You haven't sold this. You buy more, like, you're crazy. And so, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. So to give you an example, like, I know you haven't met people yet on the app. Hopefully you will soon, but I've met people on the app. I don't think because I'm a founder, just because. And I give you an example, like this guy that so now I don't live in LA anymore. I live in a 10,000 people village in Northern California.
Okay.
So the chances of other Bitcoiners around here are pretty slim. Yet there's a guy that lives maybe half an hour from me, and his daughter goes to school 5 minutes from my house. So every Monday at 8 in the morning, we meet for coffee.
Awesome.
For 1 hour. He dropped his daughter at the school, and then he stopped at the coffee. We meet for 1 hour, and then he goes home, and I go home, and I have all these calls and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's, there would be no way for me to find this guy. It would be absolutely impossible for me to find this guy, let alone meet this guy in real life. And so, yeah, so what we want to give is the gift of, the gift of Bitcoin friends to as many people as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I know it's gonna take off in the community once the Bitcoin community finds out about it. I know it's gonna take off, so I'm excited to be one of the first, few users. But anyway, so maybe we can get into some of the questions from my followers. Before we get into that, just really quick, did you have any comments on what obviously crazy market right now? We're in a pretty steep drawdown. Do you want to throw in any comments on what you see happening in like the Bitcoin market right now, or the economy, and kind of maybe your where you see it going over the next year or two?
I'm not a trader. I'm not
long-term holder.
yeah, I mean, I'm at the stage where I don't even care about the price anymore. It's all about accumulation, as many Bitcoin as you can.
Exactly.
Because I believe that Bitcoin is going to be the global reserve currency, because it just makes sense. It's just 10 times better, right? It's just maybe 100 times better than fiat. So everything that I know about technology and history and humans tells me that Bitcoin is more likely than not to become global reserve currency. And so if that's true, then the price of Bitcoin in dollars is as irrelevant as the price of Bitcoin in horses. What is the price of Bitcoin in horses? Do you know? Do you care? The same with dollars. It should be the same, right? In my mind, it's the same. Dollar is going to go away. Like every currency is going away, by the way. Like if you look at history, every single currency that once existed is gone. Every single one. You name it. So why wouldn't, this time it's not going to be any different, because it's the same problem that at some point it breaks down. Because it's the nature of the technology of fiat. It's unsustainable, right? And so I don't care. I mean, I'm all in. I'm building a Bitcoin company, so I'm really like completely detached from the price, and I don't know, man. I don't really know what to say, and making forecasts, it's the easiest way to look like a fool anyway.
Agreed. I hope that I'm loving it. I hope we stay in a bear market for a while, so I'm grateful for this opportunity to stack cheap sats.
Exactly.
Also, it seems
the way I put it once on Twitter, I think went viral, is this: if Bitcoin price goes up, your life gets better, because you can buy a house, you can buy whatever you want, right? You can make your life better. Mm-hmm. If Bitcoin price goes down, you can buy more stock, you can buy more sats. It's a win-win, right? It's a win-win. Well, once you accept that Bitcoin is probably gonna win, then if the price goes up, great. You can go on a vacation or go dinner, more time, whatever you want to be, right? You can buy more books, whatever. If Bitcoin price goes down, you can get more Bitcoin. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Also, from what I've heard, it seems like bear markets are a better time to build on Bitcoin, because things it's more calm. Can take a step back. Whereas like if you're trying to build during a bear market, a bull market, seems like everything happens so fast. And anyway.
Well, let me tell you, because I'm the prime example, right? Because I started this company in May 2022, so pretty much in the beginning or in the midst of the bear market. But the point is that in 2021, I was thinking now if I should get a Ferrari. I wasn't thinking if I should start a Bitcoin company.
Yeah.
Which I didn't buy a Ferrari, because obviously I'm a Bitcoin maxi. But that's the problem with the bull markets, that people like me that should start Bitcoin company, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking, okay, I have all this money now, what am I going to do? Like, once you're all in Bitcoin, you can't go more all in than all in, right? So the bear market obviously kind of kind of like clean the mind space. Okay, I'm not thinking about buying a Ferrari anymore, obviously. So my mind is more free to think about how do I add value to the network, instead of how do I add value to myself. So that's why most companies start in the bear market.
Makes sense. Last question before we get into the audience questions. So for the app, is it mostly you that is working on everything, or do you have a decent sized team? Or
I'm a highly non-technical founder. As I say, I can barely send an email. So it's thankfully, I found probably some of the best developers on earth 10 years ago, after I found maybe hundreds of wrong developers. I found 2 of the best. And they happen to be Italians, and they happen to be actually, one of them happens to be from from the same hometown, which is completely ridiculous.
Wow.
Because I've hired developers from pretty much every country on earth, you name it. I have hired developers. I fire most of them. Some of them I have to sue them. It's a complete disaster. So then I've learned how to find the good developers, right? Once you find all the wrong ones, the ones that are left are the good ones, right? So I found the great developers, which I did the food delivery, indoor food delivery app in New York, the theater, blah, blah. And then, although I didn't do any business for 5 years, 6 years, I kept the relationship with these developers, which are the people that are really, they are the people that really create the orange pillar. Look, I have the idea and I have the business knowledge to say, okay, we should do this instead of that, but I cannot code, so it's me, and then I have 2 developers in Italy, and then I have now I have so many people involved in the others of the advisor that are going to involve, some pretty famous Bitcoiners like Knut Svonham, Daniel Prince, BTC Session. And then I have a designer. You mentioned Brian DeMint.
Mm-hmm. Awesome guy.
He's the newest and greatest addition to the team. He's the one that's giving all the sats away on Twitter. He's a great guy, and he's killing it. It's killing it. So yeah, it's I think now it's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11 people. 11 people in the company, although full time is only 4.5.
Well, for being so new and for such a small team, the app looks amazing. Like, it's super smooth. It looks just as nice as a LinkedIn or a Facebook or a Twitter, in my opinion, as far as the appearance. So very impressed, and I'm super excited.
It's gonna get much better. It's gonna get much better. It's I launched it before I should have launched it, because I've learned that it's better to launch and find out if users actually want this, then build, spend all this money and all this time, and then you launch it and you find out, oh, we don't care about this app. So it's always better in vast majority of cases to launch as soon as you have something that people can use it, and then ask them, okay, do you actually want this? And the answer is yes. Then you can go and build the greatest product ever, which is what I'm doing. I'm pretty much building in public, as they say.
That's awesome. That's great advice. Yeah. So anyway, maybe we can now get into some of the questions, and just let me know whenever you need to go. I know you're kind of limited on time, so just we can get through as many as time allows.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry. I have time.
So I sent you the list. Is there any particular ones that you wanted to?
I haven't checked the list. I like surprises.
Okay, no problem then. Well, I'll just go through some. Some of them are, maybe half of them are just kind of Bitcoin related, and maybe the other half are Orange Pill app related.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
So this question comes from @Early Clayton, and the question is, it was in Spanish, but thankfully the Twitter has the translate function. Do you think the Lightning Network will be the future of the economy?
Oh, easily, absolutely. I mean, yes, 100%. Although I gotta say, now that we launch the Lightning Network payments, actually it's 1 week now. Today's Friday? No, it's 5 days. So 5 days ago, we launched LN payments, and I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed from the way, pretty much, to run a Lightning Network node efficiently, you need to be an hacker. It's so difficult, which I found out the hard way, because I didn't know much. I thought it was a little bit easier. So I think what's going to happen is that, and I know there are some companies that they have that build this solution is that business owners, they don't want to run a node, they don't want to manage the liquidity. All they want to do is accept payments over the Lightning Network, so we don't have to pay Apple or Google 30% commission, 30%, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then not only that, I still haven't seen $1. So I've launched it 1 month ago, and I have people, buying the subscription every day. It's now 1 month later, I've seen $0 because Apple, because of the fiat world, keep the money in the bank for as long as they can. And then on top of charging 30%, so they charge you 30% and then they hold the money for probably 2 months. Now, compare this to the Lightning Network, which is 0% fees or almost zero, instant settlement, no KYC, no reporting. I mean, you don't need to be a technologist to understand that the Lightning Network, once it's fully fleshed out, because today is not, once it's super easy for anybody to use it, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would be completely shocked if in 5 years or 10 at the latest, every single company that is online does not accept the Lightning Network payments. I would be absolutely shocked. Something crazy must have happened.
I agree. Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer. I mean, why pay, 2 to 3% to Visa or American Express and have your money on hold when you can, like you said, for 0%
chargebacks,
and
refunds, KYC. It's just such an inferior product. The problem is that until there is a superior product, you are forced to use Visa and Apple and Google and MasterCard and Stripe, whatever. Now we have an alternative, which is 1 billion times better. So it's all a matter about, okay, now I know about this alternative. It's still not user-friendly, but it's, but the benefits are so greater that even me, that again, I'm very non-technical, I spent 2 days talking to Chat GPT. You know about Chat GPT, the GTP, the AI. I spent 2 days talking with this AI bot so I could learn how to run a node, which now I pretty much know. Because the pain of paying Apple 30% and still not seeing any dollars for 2 months is so great that I would learn how to run a node, which is very hard, so that I don't have this problem. So the problem that the fiat world problem is so large that it's inevitable that people are going to end up in the easiest solution, right? It's just the way humanity works.
Awesome. Great answers. So, okay, this question comes from Alexander Marit, and this is an Orange POAP related question. During the development of the project, what was the most critical moment that you managed to overcome? And what advice would you give to people who are also developing and who may be going through those moments right now?
So, you probably know the answer by now. I didn't have any development problems because,
Great team.
I'm very fortunate to have found super talented developer, but I had another problem, which is kind of related, and it goes back to centralized system. So here's the problem that I had. The official launch was November 9th. I obviously bought the vendor ticket for Pacific Bitcoin, booked the flights and all that kind of stuff. On Friday, so that was on a Wednesday. On Friday, the app was still not live. Why? Because Apple did not approve the app as we presented to them. This is on Friday. Wow. The conference on Wednesday. And I paid money and I've told everybody Wednesday. So I spent pretty much from Friday night until Monday morning awake, talking to my developers in Italy. I'm 9 hours behind in time zone, resubmitting a version to the Apple Store. Then it was wrong. and then resubmitting again. So we spent the whole weekend submitting version of the app. I think we submitted 7 times in 3 days.
Wow.
And then on Monday morning at 3 in the morning, the app was live. So that was the only hurdle. I mean, that was the biggest hurdle that we had to overcome, which has nothing to do with the development. It had to do with the fact that the gatekeeper did not want to, let us in. And so, so the advice that I could give is that you need to create yourself a mindset that you're gonna do it, no matter how hard it is, no matter how little you know, because I know very little. You're just gonna find a way to do it. And so, then one technique that you can use and is the burn your ship technique, right? Like the Fernando Cortez went to Mexico to conquer Mexico. Nobody could conquer Mexico. And then once they landed, he told his soldier, burn your ships. And they told him, well, if we burn the ships, how are we gonna go back? And he said, well, we're only gonna go back if we're gonna conquer Mexico. Otherwise we die. So what happened? They actually conquered Mexico because they had no option. So giving yourself a deadline, like, the paying for a ticket and telling everybody, okay, on this day the app is going to be live, is a huge motivator and is a huge incentive for you to solve whatever you need to solve. And of course, find good developers if you can. That's, it's always better.
Awesome. I love the example that you use because I'm a big Napoleon Hill guy. I've read all his books, and he talks about burn your ships.
Cortez,
and I love it. Okay, this is a fun question from Block Stepper. If you actually met the real Satoshi Nakamoto on the Orange Pill app, what would your perfect day look like?
Yeah, I'm sure he's an Orange Pill app, right? Why wouldn't he? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just I spend probably way too much time thinking about Sakamoto, as a matter of fact, because it's a complete unique character.
Fascinating.
It's a complete unique, like, it's almost like an alien, right? The guy not only was a genius because he solved the Byzantine problem and whatever. That's fine. We had many geniuses, right? Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Einstein, you name it. Humanity produced geniuses all the time. But he also had the discipline and the courage and the wisdom of disappearing, which obviously was the greatest gift he could give to Bitcoin, because we know what happened to other previous digital currencies. And then apparently never sold a penny, although he might have another wallet with, I don't know, but anyway, he has 1 million Bitcoin, which makes him one of the richest person on planet Earth. He never sold anything. He never came back, even when somebody else said, oh, I am Satoshi. He still hasn't come back. So I would say that probably he's dead. If you put a gun to my head and ask me, is Satoshi alive or dead? I would probably say he's dead, right? He's either dead or he's an alien or he's a saint. I don't know. It's a very unique figure. But now, if he was an Orange Pill app, I doubt he would use his real name, right?
Yeah.
I would ask those questions. I would ask, are you how did you, what is your childhood like? Like, how did you become this kind of person, huh? How did you become not only a genius, which is probably like DNA, like you're born with a very high intelligence, good for you. But how did you become this kind of like saint-like figure? That's what I would ask him.
So much, yeah, such interesting story. Most people that, unless you're a hardcore Bitcoiner, I think most people don't even know that the creator of Bitcoin is anonymous, and that it's just a fascinating story. So anyway, I like your question. Okay, this question comes from Benny, and I saw somebody from the Twitter account had actually replied to this. This is going to be a quick one because
It's probably Brian.
yeah, probably. Yeah, I know he's taking over the Twitter account this week.
Yeah, he's
so
taking over everything. He's taking over he's taking over Twitter. Actually, I have on Twitter, you maybe you don't, but if you have too many notifications, you get an alert, rate limit exceeded, because you have too many notifications that they don't have. And Brian keep getting to that problem, which is crazy because it's a magician.
sounds like he's having fun doing it too. So
Yeah, he's having fun giving all the stats away for sure.
yeah, it's a fun thing. Like I don't know if you've ever seen my account, but basically I just give sats away every day. And
yeah, I think it's great. By the way, I think joking aside, I think giving sats away, I think it helps the ecosystem, and it helps people because circular economy, right? We need to, if we only use Bitcoin as an investment that I buy and never sell, first of all, it's impossible, because if you buy and never sell, that means you didn't buy all in. You have cash, you have fiat, so you're not all in. If you're all in, you have to spend, right? Which means somebody has to accept it in return for services and product, right? So it's good that the SaaS giveaway is not only good as a marketing technique, whatever, but it's also good for the Bitcoin ecosystem. I like that.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah. So anyway, the question is, and I know there's kind of already hinted on this in the app, but the question is, will there ever be a map that shows local retailers that accept Bitcoin?
Absolutely, yes. We have partnered with the btcmap.org.
Mm-hmm.
They have they're cracked the code how to get a directory of all the merchants that accept Bitcoin. And so yes, absolutely, it's going to be a map in Orange Pill app that you can see easily on the map, nearby merchants, whatever you need, grocery, plumber, hardware store, whatever it may be. So it's definitely going to be on Orange Pill app, probably summer of next year.
Looking forward to that. I can't wait to. I have a taco truck down the road from my house, and he doesn't accept Bitcoin as payment, but I tip him in Bitcoin. Like I had him download the wallet of Satoshi, so every time I just tip him in with some sats. So
that's the way, man. That's the way.
So fun. Okay. This is a question I already know your answer to it, but I threw it on here because I thought I'd like to hear what you say. This comes from 6457 Samsung. Question is, if someone who doesn't like Bitcoin, only likes altcoins, but likes the concept of the Orange Pill app, do you consider creating another app for altcoin only?
Oh man, sure. Cardano, man, those people are gonna need a rehab app, not a meeting app. They're gonna need a rehab.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, you probably guessed the answer, right?
Yeah. Hey, maybe that's a business idea, is to make an app for altcoiners who,
to go to rehab.
Yeah. There you go. That's your next business.
Yeah, I mean, to be more serious, I was also a shitcoin at some point. So obviously, and I think most people, I would say maybe 90% of Bitcoiners have had a shitcoin phase. You just have to go through and learn it, and learn why it's Bitcoin only. And it's not easy. Actually, it's probably easier if you go through the shitcoin phase. You're gonna end up having a stronger understanding and stronger belief that Bitcoin is the only solution here than if you don't go to the shitcoin phase. So it's kind of like a trial by fire. Like you have to go through this phase to become. It's kind of like teenager, right? You got to go to all these backups that you're gonna do, and then you can become an adult.
That's a good way to describe it. It's like your teenager phase, your altcoin phase.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is another Orange Pill app related question. Comes from Dylan Cooney. Will the Orange Pill app create city/country groups to build communities in cities and countries?
Whether Orange Pill app creates cities,
like city groups, like maybe like
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So the problem with that is that the app is live in 175 countries,
Mhm.
which means whatever city you're from, there's going to be another city with the same exact name somewhere else, which is why we don't let you put the city. Also, it allows for bad actors to say I'm from this city when they're not. You know, there's a lot of security also as well. The geolocation is the easiest way and is also the most secure way, although people would think is the less secure. It's actually the most secure. And so, yeah, cities, I mean, the app already tells you. Also, you know, it's kind of like, why do you need to know which city I'm from? You need to know that I'm close enough to you. Because maybe, you know, you think about a huge city like New York or London or Tokyo. We might be in the same city. We might be 2 hours apart. So how is that helping us meet? If I tell you, hey, you're in Tokyo and I'm in Tokyo. Okay, are we in Tokyo 5 minutes apart or 2 hours apart? So it doesn't really help you to know you're in the same city. What helps you to know that you and I are 5 miles or 10 miles or 50 miles, it's 100 miles away. Because then you can, it doesn't matter where the city boundaries are, it matters how far we are from each other.
Yeah.
That's the information you need to say, oh, okay, this guy is close enough. Let's go for a beer.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, yeah, so right now it's, you know, the app is still kind of in beta phase, I guess, you know, kind of limited features. And right now it's just, you know, you have the messaging feature, but it's just one way, right? Like there's not really like a group feature yet, or
no, it's not. I don't think we're ever going to have a group feature, to be honest with you, because we want to foster one-on-one relationship.
Okay.
We don't want to become another Telegram group, right? Or another WhatsApp group. So you can already do that on Telegram.
Yeah.
We don't need, you know, the unique proposition here is that you're going to make lifelong, meaningful connection with other plebs, one-on-one. Not, let me go to this group, there's 100 people, and then 5 people talk all the time, and 95 don't. You know, it is not conducive to what we're trying to achieve. For you to meet somebody else in real life that you can become a friend or partner or whatever you want. So there's probably never going to be a chat group.
Makes sense. Yeah, I like the I prefer having the one-on-one Bitcoin conversations as well versus like a group. But so
yeah, it's more intimate. It's more like, you know, the other person is listening to you because it's only you in the chat.
Yeah.
Right. It's more direct, it's more intimate, it's more fulfilling than being on a group chat with 100 people.
Okay. Next question comes from Hernandez. You already answered the first part of this question, so I'll answer the second part of the question. It's, do you think that more countries will adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, and that they take the example of El Salvador, like in the next, you know, couple of years?
It's tricky. It's very tricky. If I was the president of a country, what are my incentives? Excuse me. You have to think about what are the incentives for a president of a country to accept Bitcoin. Now, some country like El Salvador makes sense because they are a dollarized country, but they don't have a central bank, meaning they are the recipients of inflation.
Yeah.
And they have a large remittance economy. So it makes sense for them to accept Bitcoin. If you are a country with your own central bank, then it doesn't make any sense from the point of view of the fiat world, right? Like, because if you're a president of the country, you want to have as much power as you want. That's why you end up being in power. You don't end up being power if you don't want power, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't really see many countries adopting Bitcoin from the top down, like El Salvador, like the president is all in. I don't really see that because just it's against human nature. It's just against human nature, right? I see countries being forced to adopt Bitcoin from the bottom up because people are going to use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, as a unit of account, and then. So I believe that at some point in the future, I don't know if you ever read this blog post article from Taleb, the dictatorship of the minority.
Yep.
I don't know if you're familiar with that, which is a very interesting concept. Basically explains that society is changed by the minority, not by the majority. Although we think majority wins, it's not true at all. It's the intolerant minority that changed society. So the example he gives is that if you buy a Coke, today, it's going to be a kosher. It's going to be a kosher Coke. It makes no sense because there's only 1% of Jews in the country, right?
Yeah.
So why would Coke cater to 1% of the country? It doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. The point is that the Jews are the intolerant minority. They will only drink Coke that is kosher. The non-Jews, they couldn't care less. In fact, you probably don't even know that the Coke is kosher. I didn't know for sure. I mean, I don't drink Coke, but whatever. Because the 1%, because they will not drink a non-kosher Coke, and because the cost for Coke to make every Coke kosher, it's very little, then now every Coke is kosher. So the 1% have changed the Coke for the 99%. And this applies to many other examples. Actually, I think if you really think about it, like pretty much everything comes from that principle. If you have a group of people that is intolerant, you either squash them completely, or they're gonna become the one that makes the rules. So I believe what's gonna happen is this: at some point, there's gonna be two systems parallel: the fiat system and the Lightning Network system, right? So you can go to a merchant, like at some time in the future, buying a McDonald's with fiat or Bitcoin would be exactly the same experience. I imagine the world now, the Bitcoin maxi, they're only going to pay with Bitcoin. The non-Bitcoin maxi, that they don't care. They say, okay, I'll pay with Bitcoin, although it's still pricing, it might be pricing dollar, but they will use the Bitcoin rails because it's cheaper. And the merchants, they use it because it's cheaper as an instant settlement and all that stuff we talk about. So at some point, the Bitcoin maxi intolerant minority is going to change the whole system for everybody else. So at some point, that's how I believe. Most likely I'm going to be wrong, but that's my thesis is that at some point, people are going to say, I only want to pay in Bitcoin. So if you want my business, you have to accept Bitcoin. And so merchants, they're going to accept Bitcoin because it costs them nothing or almost nothing. Actually, it might be, it not only costs them nothing, actually increases the profits because there's less fee and blah, blah, blah. So that is the way I think we go to a Bitcoin standard, not through Joe Biden or Donald Trump or whoever is the president saying, okay, tomorrow Bitcoin is legal tender. I think that's very, very, very unlikely, which is why we haven't seen any other country adopt Bitcoin, because it just doesn't make sense from the top down.
Makes sense. Maybe last question. Now we're coming up on an hour here. This question comes from Ghost_BC1.
I have time, by the way, if you have more questions.
Okay. Well, I think there may be only one or two questions that we haven't hit yet. So if you have time to hit them all, then you can just hit them all. Last time me and Brian got talking so much beforehand, we only got to get to 3 or 4 of the follower questions.
Yeah, I know. I also talk a lot.
So he also had another podcast like right after mine, so he had to go. But
I actually do too. But it's what time is it? Yeah, I have time.
Okay. So this question is, do you think there is a danger of showing people nearby that you own Bitcoin? How do you prevent the service from being a target list for wrench attacks?
Perfect question. Never heard it before. First time I heard that question.
It's an interesting question.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Obviously, this is what everybody asks. So let's do Cameron. You seem like you're a smart guy. Let's do a thought experiment. Let's say that you and I live close enough. Now, I know you're in Alabama and I'm in California. Let's just say we live close enough. And I tell you exactly how far I am from you to the feet. That you, hey, Cameron, I am right now in this very moment 3 miles and 3.5 miles and 20 feet from you. And then I tell you, if you find me, I will give you 1 Bitcoin. Okay? This is the deal. This is the thought experiment. Now, go and find me. You know exactly how I am. You know the exact distance from me to you, you know, to the feet. How are you going to find me?
As internet, searching on the internet. I don't know. I'm not sure. GPS, compass.
I'll give you 100 Bitcoin. How are you going to find me? You know, it's the exact distance from here.
So you're saying I only know the distance, not like the direction or anything?
Well,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the point. No, that's so in the app, you only see the distance.
Right. You're not
you
saying
don't
like
know
somebody's
if
address.
it's north, south. No, of course. Now, this is so it's impossible to find somebody just by knowing the distance, the accurate distance to the feet, to the inch. It's pretty much impossible. Now, of course, we don't do that because there is no need to know the exact distance because we're not delivering pizza. So the geolocation is approximate to begin with. So when you download the app, you've probably seen it. You're on the app. So what Apple has done is taken the map of the world and has subdivided in blocks of 10 miles radius. So we know that you are in this block that has a 10 miles radius. So it's pretty large already. Okay. Then we take that block, and then I'm on another block. The distance from the 2 blocks is, let's say, 17 miles. So I could tell you that I'm 17 miles away, although it's not true because you're in 10 miles radius and I'm in 10 miles radius. So we could be 17 plus 10 and plus 10 in reality. Because we could be at the end of the radius, at the end of the circle, right? So not only that, we don't even give you the exact distance from the radius. We randomly round up the distances, meaning if we are if my circle is 17 miles from your circle, I don't tell you that we're 17 miles. I tell you we're 15 or 20. I always, so in the app automatically round up or round down the distances or by 5 miles. And this is made randomly. So even I couldn't know if I wanted to know the exact distance from my circle to your circle. So it's you know, it's a mess because we don't need to know, you know. In order for me and Cameron to go and get a beer, we just need to know that we're close enough.
Yeah. Whether
Whether it's 16 miles or 14 miles, it makes zero difference. And so everything is rounded up and everything is approximate. So but again, even if it was as we just proved, even if it was the exact distance, it still wouldn't matter. You couldn't find me anyway. Now, on top of that, we only take your geolocation when you use the app. So if the app is closed and you're going around, we have no idea where you are. So because obviously we don't care, we don't do advertising, right? That's the beauty of doing a membership. We don't do advertise, so we couldn't care less if you go to Starbucks tomorrow, like zero value, right? So that's the geolocation piece. As for the wrench attack, man, if you bought Bitcoin KYC in any exchange, which in the United States it's guaranteed, like in I bought KYC, like the wrench attack is going to come from the exchanges and the government forcing the exchange to give you your full address, not the fake geolocation. And lastly, don't go out with your seed phrase in your pocket, right? Don't go on a date with your seed phrase in your wallet, right? You don't need to do that, right? So this, yeah, it's, I understand how it might appear as a privacy invasive. The fact that it's geolocated, although it's not really geolocated, it's like approximately geolocated and rounded out, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's when you think about it, when you think it through, there's literally no risk. I mean, there's as much risk as you going to a conference or you're going to a meetup or you going out anywhere and tell somebody, yes, I mean Bitcoin. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I think you answered every part of that, every angle of that question. So
yeah, as you guess, it's not the first time, right? That I heard that question.
Yeah. Okay, this question comes from Michael Eichmann, and he says, I'm living in Kenya. Hardware wallets are both hard to get and expensive for a secure and sovereign account. How can we best onboard African countries and individuals in a safe way? Multi-sig, what is the most cost-effective way for Bitcoin sovereignty and security?
So, well, hardware wallets are great, but they also have security problems, I would say. If you lose it, it's gonna be a problem. If you print your seed phrase on a piece of paper, put it in a safe, the house gets on fire, now you're out of your Bitcoin. No, there is not really, I mean, the way I approach it is like I have digital wallets that live on my iPhone, which is uncrackable. I'm sure everybody knows the story about the San Bernardino terrorist. Then the FBI told Apple to unlock the iPhone of the terrorist, and they couldn't do it. That's the FBI and blah, blah. So anyway, so digital wallets, I think, are great. Digital wallets, I think they're great, especially if you're not an expert, if you're not, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're just getting in, and if you go $100 or $1,000, it's not a small amount. Digital wallets, if you have an iPhone, I think it's a little more secure than a Google phone. But I know in Africa it's probably much cheaper to get an Android. And then don't lose the password. Obviously that's the beauty of Bitcoin. You're in charge. You have a responsibility. So don't lose the password. And also it's much cheaper, by the way. The hardware wallets that goes hundreds of dollars, which if you're in Africa, it's probably a lot of money. So yeah, my advice would be download one of the Blue Wallet, Moon, Wallet of Satoshi, all these great wallets that already exist. Download on your phone, send the sats on this, delete the app, reinstall the app, sign up, make sure you're familiar with the process of losing and regaining access to the wallet. And then, and then go from there. That would be my humble advice.
That's a good piece of advice, especially there at the end, that to just go ahead and pretend that you've lost your phone or whatever.
Yeah,
and just
obviously don't do with all your
prepared.
Bitcoins, just put $50 and delete everything and try to replicate a scenario in which you're in a bad situation. Somebody stole your phone, you've lost your phone, the phone is broken. Try to replicate that scenario without actually being in that scenario, and see how easy it is to regain access. Maybe you have another phone. Actually, you don't even need to add another phone. You can download the app from another phone and then log in on your wallet, and the Bitcoin will be there, because the Bitcoin is not really in the phone, right? It's on the blockchain.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So this is actually the last question. It comes from Warden Cliff, and it's an easy general question. Take it wherever you want. What advice can you give to people who don't have Bitcoin yet?
Wow. What advice? 1 second.
It's a question I get asked a lot, because people want, like people that don't understand anything about it, just kind of want like a elevator pitch, which is hard to do with Bitcoin. But if you had to,
well, it depends. So I have a career in orange pilling people, because I've done it many, many times, as you can imagine. My mother, my sisters, my friends, my wife, etc. Well, it depends obviously who you're talking to. I mean, I have failed to orange pill people, as despite my best efforts. But first of all, you should learn what are the complaints, right? Why does this person doesn't like Bitcoin? Is it because of they love the government or they love centralization? You need to know which angle are they coming from, and then explain what are the problem with that philosophy, right? If the government, I mean, I think by now, in 2022, almost 2023, I think it's pretty evident that you cannot trust the government, right? Even if you love the government, and there's a lot of things that have happened in the last couple of years, COVID and Canada and Russia and this and that. But yeah, the general advice is that buy some, which is what I did in 2015 or 2016. Buy $10, then you're gonna get interested, right? And then you learn, and then listen to a podcast. Buy the Bitcoin Standard, read the Bitcoin Standard, or listen to Saifedean on one of the 1,000 podcasts he has done, or maybe even better, which is what I sent everybody, is Michael Saylor. I think the way Michael Saylor explained Bitcoin, you can't beat it. If you listen to Michael Saylor for 2-3 hours and you still don't get Bitcoin, then you're behind. I think you're just beyond reach. But yeah, start with the education. As a curiosity exercise. Like everybody now is talking about Bitcoin. What is it? The problem is there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of wrong teachers online and books, and it's hard to know. Like if you read the Bitcoin Standard, I think it's one of the best places to start. But if you read books that talk about crypto and Bitcoin just being one of the coins, then you might as well not read that book, right? So yeah, buy a little bit, learn as much as you can, then buy a little bit more, keep learning, and eventually, most likely, you're gonna end up, being all in or close to be all in once you really understand what problem Bitcoin solves.
Great answer. Yeah, just give it individualized approach to it, because everybody's comes from different angles, and yeah, just find out what it is what angle they come from, and try to give them an individualized orange pilling session. I totally agree with Michael Saylor, by the way. He's the guy that I would say really totally orange pilled me. And
actually, I can tell you a story about Michael Saylor. There was this friend of mine, which pretty old guy, probably the smartest person that I know. Harvard, extremely rich, extremely successful guy. Background in finance and all that kind of stuff. And I couldn't get through him until I sent him the interview that Michael Saylor did with Tucker Carlson.
That's a great one. I
sent that link to him, and and that's how I got through this guy. So yeah, Michael Saylor, I call it the CEO of Bitcoin, but it's the best weapon you can send. It's the best weapon you can have in your pocket if you want to go into a fight with a no coiner or a pre-coiner or a shitcoiner, right? Michael Saylor is your best friend.
I agree. That guy is on another level for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the last question. Thank you so much for doing this. I really enjoyed talking with you. Everybody go download the Orange Pill app. Spread the message of the Orange Pill app. Meet other Bitcoiners. Follow Orange Pill app on Twitter. Any other things you'd like to plug in here and then?
I think you're good. But so the app is called Orange Pill app, as you can see right here.
Yep.
Can't miss it. And if you're in Bitcoin, so Orange Pill app is on iOS. Probably by the time this podcast goes live, we might be out on Android as well, which is going to be hopefully early January. And the social media are at Orange Pill app, Instagram, Twitter, you name it.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. And yeah, I'm gonna end it right here.
Thank you, Cameron.